Good morning, good morning. Thank you all for joining this morning. And for everybody that has watched this and the other videos um, after we record them live, thank you so much. We appreciate you spending the time and watching with us. Get this adjusted a little bit better. There we go. So, for everyone who joined in last week, thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody and what shows they're going to this year. I mentioned that we might have some swag at some of the different shows, so definitely look out for New Life Spectrum. We will be at Reefapalooza Anaheim, Reefapalooza California, so make sure you look out for us there. Come say hi. We don't have a booth, but we'll be walking around, and we might have some stickers. Speaking of which, I don't think they're on YouTube, but I've got to give a shout out. Thanks to Reefing with that he sent. I love his little clownfish. And also thanks to Cajun Reef for sending this cute sticker. I love the little crawfish. So I always enjoy getting stickers. I think I've mentioned that before. So we might have some new stickers. If you don't have any Life Spectrum sticker, I have a few left from last year's MACNA that I could possibly send out if you get in touch. Now, this week we are going to be talking about biosecurity. Now, biosecurity kind of sounds like a scary sort of term, but broken down, it's basically cross-contamination, which if you have one tank, it's not that big of a deal, but I feel like a lot of people in this hobby have more than one tank. You might have started out with one and then like 2 months later, you're like, oh, I love this is so great. I need to get another tank. So if you're like me, you can see I've got 2 tanks in the shot right now. This is my quarantine tank. Obviously, with quarantines, you definitely want to prevent cross-contamination. This is my main system, and I have another 20-gallon Innovative Marine nano tank that's not in here. And it's really, really important that you not bring water from one tank to the next. Hey, Chris, good morning. Thanks for joining. So, and it's super easy to do. Like, I don't know about you, but like when I do tank maintenance, I like set aside a couple hours on one day, and I like to do all of my tank maintenance at once for all of my tanks. So, the way that I don't cross-contaminate, when I'm doing my water testing, each tank has their own specific glass, and I'll get a water sample from each of the tanks and then take it over to the counter, and then I'll do my testing. Poor Frank. And then I'll do my testing over there. That way I'm not like hands back and forth in the tanks, in the water, out of the water, because a lot of diseases and parasites and, those are microscopic. You're not going to be able to see them. So you don't it can travel in a teeny tiny droplet of water. So you don't want to be putting hands back and forth in tanks. It's really, really not a good idea. I know, Frank. It's not. No, he's so funny. So yes, like I said, I've got glasses. I'll line the glasses up and then do my samples. And after each sample, after each little test, I will rinse everything out really, really good. And the same goes for my refractometer. I've got a little pipette that I use, but in between testing the different tanks, I make sure to rinse it out with tap water. Now, if you're not doing maintenance and you're just doing like basic feeding, rearranging some rocks or something, just wash your hands. You don't have to, you can wash them with soap. If you want to wash them with soap and water, just make sure you get all the soap off. But typically, like a rinse in tap water, any sort of bacteria, diseases, parasites that are hanging out in that water, a splash in tap water should kill them off, So wash them, dry them before you put them in tanks. Now, this is especially important, and you probably know this. If you're like me and you work in the industry, so I work at a public aquarium during the day, And, you know, we've got a lot of tanks there. We've got our main display tank, we've got quarantine tanks, we've got our sick tanks. So there's a lot of biosecurity risk going on there. And any day, you know, my fish, the first things I take care of when I come home, get off work, I make sure that I like wash all the way up to my elbows, even though, you know, maybe only the tips of my fingers are going in. I don't want to take any risk, you know, bringing a disease or a parasite in. And, you know, talking about things that you can't see. So ick, for example, you know, you might not see signs on your fish. You might not see those white spots. They might not be flashing, or like sharing with you in a way that you can see that they're sick. But ick can live in the rocks. It can live in the sand bed for a very, very long time. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's there. It would take one stress event for them to break out. So, you know, that's just an example that, you know, it's a common example that you're probably familiar with. You know, let's see. Oh, just got off the plane from Hawaii. Wow, welcome back. I'm jealous. Even sanitize our feet as we, yes. You beat me to the point. So at work, there's like a foot bath. So before we even get into the quarantine area, and then when we leave the quarantine area, there's a little foot bath that we have to walk through every day. I can't remember, there was a presentation that I went to see that, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was given a presentation and they were talking about how their biosecurity measures are just not insane. It makes sense for what they were doing. I think they were growing like cocoa pods or something like that. And you know, because they're so small, those cultures, it only take one tiny drop of water to destroy that. So, you know, the same goes with your fish tanks. We don't want to like spend all of our time and money and, you know, our love and care for our animals in our tanks, and then just, you know, one day you're being lazy and you forget to wash your hands, you know. Like another example, so I've mentioned before, this tank over here has my clownfish that had urinema, probably still has urinema, and he came out of my reef tank. Now, the fish that's in my reef tank right now, absolutely fine, showing 0 signs of urinema several months later, but it doesn't matter. Like, I absolutely will not take the risk. Anytime my hands are in the reef tank, they go wash them off before I mess with any of my other tanks. ORA has super high biosecurity. Yes, I would absolutely believe that. Definitely believe that. And, you know, like I mentioned, you know, wash your hands off and then dry them off before you put them in the tanks. Another good reason for that, like if you're feeding multiple tanks and you get your fingers wet and you put them in a jar of probiotics, then you're getting the food inside our little food containers wet. And, you know, once it gets wet inside, then, you know, that your food's definitely not going to last as long. You run the risk of getting mold in your food. So it's just, you know, just better to do it that way. Hi, Carlos. Thank you for joining from Brazil. So yes, biosecurity sounds really scary, and it kind of is scary, but, you know, breaking it down, we don't want anything to happen to our tanks. So auto feeders for the win. Yes, you can use an auto feeder. I used to have an auto feeder, and my main man Frank here likes to spit water, and that thing didn't last more than like a week and a half. So no auto feeders. No auto feeders for Frank. Oh, guys, I know what I was going to tell you. So I even moved it so it would be in the frame. So you see behind me, I've got my little howdy doody bin or whatever. My quarantine tank inside my tank. So I've got land hermit crabs, and I was gonna buy them. Went to the store to buy them a special treat. I was gonna get them a clam to eat. Fully, like, went to the seafood department, fully expecting these clams to not be alive, and I got home and they're very much alive. So now Frank's got some clams hanging out in his tank, filtering the water. if you don't know, oysters, one single oyster has the filtration capacity. They can filter 50 gallons of water every day. So I'm not sure what clams do, but after after doing some biosecurity measures before I put them in here, now they're in here and hopefully filtering out this water. Now, because I'm super paranoid, so I had these guys in a container, and I pulled some water out of the tank and put it in their container, left them for 12 hours, let them pull that water in and spit it back out, and I switched out the water in their container like twice a day and did that for like 3 days. So anything, you know, any sort of particulates that they might have been holding, hopefully they've spit it back out. And yeah. A whole clownfish breeding program. Oh my gosh, 24 auto feeders. That is impressive. That is impressive. What? Just out of curiosity, what auto feeder did you use? I think the ones that I'm most familiar with, I think they're Eheim. It's kind of like rectangular shaped and just rotated. Hey, good morning, Dr. Ted. Or afternoon, depending on where you're at, or evening. On the Instagram live, I had some people from Poland and from Turkey join me, and they were telling me that it was like 5:30 p.m. where they were at. So that's always exciting. Talk to people from around the world. You see you, Frank. Where he's like, I would be better if I had some food. Okay, yep. Oh, I didn't realize we were based in Singapore. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. It's almost midnight. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know Portuguese, but I will tell Raquel that you said hi. I'm like, oh, I can quick translate that, but I can't. I will make sure that Raquel watches this video. Oh. Smart and interesting. Hi, Frank. Very cool. Very nice. My comfy bed right now. So funny you should mention that. So somebody the other day was asking me why I host these Monday morning, I call them my Monday morning aquarium and coffee talks when I do. And they were like, oh yeah, it's gotta be, you know, it's really early for me. And I was like, you know, it's early for me too. Like, okay, 8 a.m. is not as early, but I start them at 7:30. And so this is the way I start my Mondays. And I figure you get out of bed, if you drink coffee or tea or whatever, like I drink coffee, you start your week with a good cup of coffee and talking about one of your favorite things with a bunch of people who love aquariums and fish and are big into the hobby. Sounds like you're setting yourself up to have a really, really good week. Like, what's going on in here? My giant hermit crab is over in the corner, like banging on the glass. I wish you could hear it. So yes, that's why I host Monday Morning Lives. I figure if there's gonna be a good way to start out your week, it's gonna be talking about fish and enjoying a good cup of coffee, easing into your week. All right. So Harkins Aquatics is telling me that there's a smart-enabled Eheim clone that you can control with your phone. Whoa, Alexa, Google Home. Man, I have been, I guess, out of the loop. I haven't seen those yet, but that's really cool. An auto feeder you can control, like smart control. Very cool. Maybe I should do an episode on auto feeders. We can do a test and see how long they hold up against Frank's spitting water. Frank's like, I didn't do it. Yes. Available on Amazon, even better. Even better. Oh, speaking of Amazon, this isn't really New Left Spectrum related, but at the beginning of July, I asked everyone to join me in Plastic Free July, and so I've run out of dish soap, and yesterday I made my own dish soap for the first time from scratch using items that I purchased that were not plastic, and Amazon was one of the places I was able to find one of the ingredients that I needed. So, yay! If you guys are still watching and you were doing Plastic Free July and trying to give up one plastic item, how is your Plastic Free July going? Yes, Frank does need I have to put it like way up, or have like a chute. Like I could hang it on the back wall behind this and have like a little chute that goes in through the back and spit. What? Alright. Okay guys, I'm just rambling on at this point, but thank you. Oh, did you guys hear that? It's Hermit Crab, man. So thank you everyone for joining me this week. Tilt it down so you can see this guy. Oh. Y'all, look. He's thinking about switching shells. How cool is that? So this big shell is the one he was in last week. And he decided it was too big. And now he looks like he's going to try and get back into it. Oh, this is so exciting. So I'm kind of just rambling on. But I hope you guys have a great week. And yes. And I look forward to hanging out with all of you again next Monday. Yeah, so keep your tanks safe. Don't cross-contaminate. Make sure you wash your hands. Oh, something else. Lotions. Don't have lotions on. Like, my hands get super dry being in fish tanks all day, and I'm sure, Chris, you can probably relate to this, but if you have to put lotion on, make sure you put it on, like, within an hour of putting your hands in the tank, like an hour before you put your hands in the tank. One real good product that I found that I haven't ever had issues with is it's O'Keeffe's hand cream. It comes in like a green container. It's for O'Keeffe's hand cream for hardworking hands. It does a great job, and it doesn't come off when you put your hands in the water. I wouldn't recommend, like, if you can avoid putting lotion on, I would definitely avoid it, but that's one of the things that I've used, and it hasn't rubbed off. Something else you can use that's all natural, that, you know, if you absolutely have to put something on, coconut oil. The days that I dive in the big tank, I will put coconut oil on when I get out on my lunch break, and that way it should have absorbed into my skin, and it gives it like an hour or two before I'm getting back in the water. You know, even like, not that you're putting your face in your tanks, but because I dive in the tanks and I'm fully submerged, any moisturizer, any face products that I have on before I get in the big tank to take care of it, like, I completely like wash everything off, so I'm not putting that in there. And you know, it might not seem like a big deal, but think about corals. So if, I'm not sure if you guys experience this over in Singapore, but here in the US and maybe in Australia too, they're banning certain sunscreens for the ingredients because it's toxic and it's damaging to corals. So if you scale that down on a smaller level, that can really hurt and impact the organisms in your tank. All right, now that I'm done, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a great week. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, see you next time.